the loop is coming back onto itself. So
Yeah.
Well, that's quite interesting, given what we were saying about Satie and Vex and the loop, that actually the music that you're making the sound with is looping back onto itself.
true, yeah.
To make the percussion.
We can really rely on an element of surprise, I think,
Yeah.
in a really appealing way. You know, I think we can seduce people's ears in some ways to listen in a different way to a building, because most people don't listen to a building.
No.
The starting point for this music was Satie, an idea of expansion, of cycles of repetition. Even though that idea has kind of, or that sonic world has now been kind of placed on a shelf, where we are now is actually using the sound of the building. But it still follows that model, an idea of repetition, of expansion, of time exploded in some ways. The sound is born from the building itself, so what the public hears is the building being constructed, the pouring of the concrete, the physicality of it. I mean, I want to make something that's utterly beautiful, actually. I think, you know, when you start talking about concrete, when you look at brutalist architecture, the general response is ugliness for lots of people, grey, bleak, of a certain time. But there's something incredibly beautiful about the shape of Vex. You know, it has a fluidity about it. And I want this to be reflected in the music. I want it to be something that's exquisite, that offers a sensibility of concrete and architecture as something that's incredibly elegant.
In some of Satie's work, it's hard to discern whether he was serious or playful. I think myself that we've taken some of the playful elements of Satie's approach to his work and brought it into Vex. We literally took the sheet music for Vexation and cut it into strips and wrapped it around the building, and where the musical notation bounces up and down on the stave, we used that as a preliminary idea of how to insert windows and doors into the building. So that was I suppose what John Cage would call a chance maneuver, where we used a device to create a design approach which we wouldn't have arrived at by rational means. We wanted to make a concrete building, which we hadn't done, and we were to some extent aware that doing it might be conceived as a vexatious activity. So in a way, the spirit of Vexations, something open, something ambiguous, something provocative, all of these kinds of adjectives seem to apply to the use of concrete.
You know, I want the work, my piece, to work very much with the building. You know, it's not something that landed and just sits on a platform inside a building.
We are interested in experimentation itself because that's part of the process of architecture in itself. So when you start to experiment by means of collaboration, you're bringing an external element that takes your design work into new areas, unexpected areas, and takes you out of your conventional way of thinking about things.
I mean, collaboration is one of those things that's so key, I think, in life. What I like is sitting there thinking, I don't know where to go with this.
We've worked with sound artists, we've worked with photographers, we've worked with dancers, and each time we invite people to work with us, we go out of our comfort zones, and that allows something that wouldn't have been possible just by ourselves. The mix is so much richer.
For something like this, it's so intimate. I like the idea of there being no stage. You're raising an idea of theatre and stage in a way, and me for a moment becoming part, in some sense, of the architecture, me using the architecture as the performance space. Vex is a type of music concrete. In fact, it's even better because we really do have concrete and we really do have music. I mean, it's perverse in its simplicity.